Hey guys, hello everyone. How are you all doing? Let me know in the chat box if I'm clearly audible as well as visible to everyone. Let me just check. All right, guys. The topic for today is Class 10 Board 6 month strategy. So, just 6 months are left for your board exams. That's why I bring to you the strategy session, this amazing strategy session in which we'll be discussing every single thing which will help you ace your board exams, right? So give me a green signal in the chat box if I'm clearly audible as well as very good. So we are ready to get started with the session. Starting with what we need to cover. Number one is the timetable. The timetable that a 10th grader has to follow in the last 6 months. So first thing, to include in your timetable is 7 2 hours of sleep and a sound sleep, which is prerequisite for scoring well in your 10th grade board exams. The ones who are not sleeping will suffer a lot in the future, so be prepared for that. Okay, so the first point that you need to remember is 7 to 8 hours of sleep is mandatory. This is also a fact. 6 to 7 hours of school. You can't change it. 6 to 7 hours of school. So how many? Let's say 7 hours you're sleeping and 6 hours you have school. So 13 hours done. Still you have your 11 hours. So what to do in those 11 hours? At least 6 hours of self study is needed. So make sure that you're doing the self study at least for 6 hours, right? That is going to be very, very important. It has been proven already. All right. It's visible, right? Visibility issues are not there. Actually, the mic is getting tight, so I'll have to hold it for today, but that's okay. So, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, 6 to 7 hours of school, 6 hours of self study needed, and rest of the time for your hobbies and other activities because from 11th you won't be getting even a minute free. ठीक है? सो ये सब आप कर सकते हो. ये स्लीप ले ली है, ये स्कूल में हो गया, ये सेल्फ स्टडी हो. टाइम टेबल की हमने बात कर ली है अब. सो नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट समथिंग वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, दैट इज स्ट्रैटेजी. Before that, let me just refill for a minute my ink. Okay, the next thing is that is the subject wise approach. How should we study every subject? What should be the approach? First subject, my favorite, science, divided into three parts: physics, chemistry, biology. Physics, numerical approach. I'll explain. Chemistry, analytical approach. Biology, theoretical approach. What do we mean by these approaches? Hi, Angel. How are you doing? How are you? Okay. So I told you the subject-wise approach. First, we are dealing with science. Hi, Preksha. Okay. Now, physics must have a numerical approach. What do we mean by a numerical approach? It means reading each and everything in such a way that you're getting the concepts in your head, right? And you're not gonna forget those concepts. Is that clear? because you have numericals. So for numericals, it should click in your mind कि अच्छा ये answer है, right? According to that, you have to study. Then second, I talk about chemistry. Chemistry is having an analytical approach. Analytical approach means you are analyzing that if I have been given with the structure of the carbon, what I have to find out, right? If I have been given with this reaction, for example, CH4 plus O2 gives you CO2 plus H2O, and then something is asked. I have my half yearly from 12th of September of science. Any tips? So, Angel, I would like to tell you that NCRT is enough for pre-boards or half yearly. So stick to NCRT and practice as many questions as you can, right? Previous year questions are going to be very helpful. And biology theoretical approach. Theoretical means learning. Okay, you need to learn the things. All right, now science is clear. I'll discuss everything in detail, so please focus, everybody. Second subject that we are taking is maths. So maths needs, you can say, concepto-numerico approach. What is concepto-numerico approach? You read a concept, you read its formulae, and you go with the numericals. That's it. We don't need anything else. Concepts, that is concepto, and numericals, numerico. These all things are studied under psychology. This everything is studied under psychology, how to study subjects. So since I'm a psychology student, I've opted for psychology. I can tell you everything psychologically, right? Psychologically means through the mindset of the examiner, what the examiner does. And first thing, everybody is going to hit on the like button. Start hitting on the like button. We must have 5 likes at least. Okay, so concepto numerico approach, you are reading a concept, formulae, and starting with the numericals. Third comes SST. Okay, what has to be done with SST? So SST has, you can say, okay, rote concepto physico approach. What is the meaning of this? Somewhere you'll have to use the method of rote learning in certain things. In certain things, concepts are also there, so you need to understand the concepts. And physico, which refers to understanding the process, the physical, you can say the process or the thing which is happening. For example, if I take history, is the pen visible? Just so let me dictate only. For example, you have history, nationalism in India chapter. So in that, if you take that as a story and just try to recall the events, at the first this happened, then this happened. First we are talking about that. You can relate it in the events related form. Okay, for example, it starts with the Satyagraha, right? It starts with Satyagraha, followed by, I guess, what was there? I forgot. Since like 3 to 4 months, I haven't studied SST at all, just science. So I actually don't remember, but there was something. Second, differing strands in the movements, right? And then you had those civil disobedience and non-cooperation movement and etc. So if you revise in a flow, na ki pehle ye hua, after that this happened, then this happened. So this sequential learning will help a lot. So sequential learning is the physical learning. The physical processes are going to be related with the entire thing, with your real life. Chalo, I can understand nationalism in India is still interesting, but what about rise of nationalism in Europe? That is quite boring, right? So the only thing I would suggest is watch. There is a YouTube channel named as Shubham Pathak, and I just watched her lectures for nationalism in Europe, and I got all my questions right. So there is some magic in that channel. Just check that out, right? Okay, that will be enough for your rise of nationalism in Europe. Rote learning will be needed in subjects like political science. Rote learning in SST is needed at times. At times, I'm saying not always. Economics is conceptual, right? If you're understanding money, the system of money, then you can relate to all the other questions, right? But in civics, what happens? For example, you have a chapter federalism, and you are asked features of federalism. So it's not like they're going to come automatically in your mind. They are flowing in the air, and you just have to you'll just get them in your head. No, you'll have to learn them. So SST has rote concepto physico approach. Is that clear? So I'm revising. There's a doubt actually. Okay, what does the doubt say? Just a second. Let me just check. How to learn chemistry equations. I said na, write, make, you can say take 2 3 A4 size sheets and write down all the equations and revise that every day. Right? If you're gonna revise on daily basis, you'll be able to learn at a faster pace. Okay, let's revise once more, then we'll move to the languages. Languages have a very different kind of an approach. Science, I told you, numerical, analytical, and theoretical approach, which talks about concepts and numericals, analyzing the things, the reactions, and the theory. Correct? Maths has concepto numerico approach, which means first you are understanding the concept, applying it on the numericals. SST has a rote concepto physico approach. Somewhere you'll have to cram the things, somewhere concepts are going to be there, and you need to relate the concepts with the physical things. Just like we are relating nationalism in India with our general things which are happening. Okay. So timetable is clear and the core subject strategy is also clear to us. Now moving on to the language subjects. Just a second. Okay, so we are moving on to the language subjects. Now, talking about English. English subject requires two things, two major things. The first is depth. What does depth mean? You just don't have to read a chapter as a chapter, but as a story, as a real life incident that has happened. So just relate it with your conscience, with your deep senses, and think critically. I'll make a video on critical thinking of chapters in English, so stay tuned for that. I'll make a complete video dedicated to critical thinking in English. How do we think critically in English? Do not forget to watch that video that I'll be posting very soon, okay? So, what is this critical thinking? Critical thinking means the facts which are given, you need to link them with each other. One incident has taken place, that will lead to another incident. So, how do we understand? How do we form the questions? For example, let me give you an example. For example, I am taking your chapter. Which chapter should I take? Which is your favorite chapter, everyone, from English? Let me know in the chat box first. I'll take that example only. Let me know in the chat box, everybody. Yes, everyone. Which is your favorite chapter in English? Are the chats working or not? Triumph of Surgery, okay. Okay, I'm taking, for example, Triumph of Surgery. So there is a question related to critical thinking. How are you going to think? For example, who do you think was responsible for Tricky's condition? Mrs. Pumphrey or Tricky himself or both? Now in this question, what we need to understand is we need to know the exact summary of the story, which will come under depth part. Is that clear? These all are psychologically proven techniques of learning. So first technique is depth. So depth of the story. The entire story must be revolving in your head while you are answering any question. Okay? So you've understood one thing. You understood one thing that, okay, this is talking about, Tricky's condition. So how are we going to think critically is, first we'll see that Mrs. Pumphrey was feeding Tricky unnecessarily, too much, as well as Tricky was accepting those treats, right? So did I think critically? This wasn't mentioned in the story that Tricky, what was Tricky's fault? Only Mrs. Pumphrey's fault was mentioned, but Tricky was also accepting them. Tricky was lazy. So their mistake was equal. All right, everyone. So this was about English. I'll make a separate video on critical thinking. I'll bring some questions in which you have to think critically, which are also known as value-based questions. Okay. Next, Hindi if you have, or French or German, whatever language you have. How to master that? Hindi, I have no idea because I did not have, but a similar approach to English must be followed. But in Hindi, your vocabulary must be strong, so you must be having the command on your vocabulary. Clear? And French, I'll take your marathon. Just leave on me. I'll make sure that you score well in French, okay? English grammar, if I talk about, grammar is very easy. It is the normal grammar, okay? English grammar is gap filling, I guess, integrated grammar. So for that, there is a book known as All in One in market. All in One English. So you can purchase that book for your grammar practice. Is that clear, everybody? Is that clear? This much is clear. Any doubt to anyone? So I discussed the subject wise approach that one must have. What's the time? I'll end the session at around 5:10 maybe. So we have 20 minutes with us. I'll revise it once more for the ones who've just joined. I was talking about subject wise approach in the psychological way, playing with the mind of the subject, with the psyche of that subject. How? In science, I told you about numerical, analytical, theoretical approach. I hope that's clear. In maths, I told you concepto numerico approach. SST wrote concepto physico approach. English depth plus critical thinking, and Hindi and French vocabulary. Okay. So this much has been done. Now we'll be talking about certain mistakes to avoid, which I also made, and I actually suffered a lot because of that. So one of my mistakes was social media, of course, as well as I made a short also related to it, neglecting the important chapters. So you don't have to neglect any of the chapter. My weakest subject during my 10th grade preparation was maths, because I never got that logic correct, that how to solve a question if it's new to me. Right. I knew how to solve all the NCRT questions or the type of questions I had already solved. But whenever a new question approached, whenever something new came, I used to get stuck completely. And till the end, this, you can say, nightmare hit me. And but what happened, I gave as many tests as possible at the end. And I also joined a crash course, an online crash course, which helped me a lot. I'll reveal about that in the future. So this improved my maths performance. I started gaining confidence, and on the day of exam I was super confident that okay, this is the last maths exam in my life. After that, no more maths. So with that mindset I went and I did well. I got 38 marks in maths. Okay. So this was my maths journey. I hope you took some inspiration from it. 6 months are left. Now let's do the monthly plan. Let's make the monthly plan. Just a second, wait. Okay, talking about the monthly plan, let's do it fast. This is September. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 months are there with us. So we have September, October, November, December, January, February. Now, what I did, I'll talk about what I did, okay? Completely based on my preparation, in these months. Though you are not that lucky, I was quite lucky because I had March and April also. Right, so I got 2 extra months for revision, but you will be having only 6 months because in March you're gonna have your exam. Okay, everybody. All right. So starting with September, right now your main target will be to finish the syllabus. Okay, 6 months have already passed, so you need to finish the syllabus ASAP as soon as possible. Your main target is this. Okay, so right now your syllabus must be going on. You need to finish your syllabus by the first week of October or the last week of September. From October, revision is going to start. Okay, revision must start from NCERT again and through your notes. Month wise, I'm telling you, in October, NCERT and notes. November, you can go through your week topics. So this should be dedicated to week topics or week subjects, November month. Okay, clear everybody? December, Jan will be the phase of your pre-boards. Okay, in this you need to practice many mock tests. All right, many sample papers. Is that clear? And in December, January, you'll need to practice as many mock tests as much you can. And finally, in February, Dhamaka. What is going to be the Dhamaka? Let me just explain. Dhamaka will be full Josh ke saath revision. And this revision has to be fast track. It means very, very fast through your short notes. Right? And if you want me to share my notes with you all, I'll definitely share. Okay, everybody? So you can just have a look at this flowchart once. All right, done. So this was the monthly plan that you need to follow, and if you follow this, you'll surely score well in your board exams. Last few lines of motivation. I would just like to say that stay patient, cover everything slowly but consistently, steadily, just like the tortoise did who won the race. If my friends could do, why can't you? When you're having all the resources available, when you're having everything at your own place, then why are you not willing to do? Please, guys, get up. We don't have much time in our hands. Time never stops. I have two beautiful quotes for you to end the session. So we'll end the session with two beautiful quotes. The first quote says, "Time is like an airplane. Time is like an airplane. And you are the pilot." How many of you could actually get the literal meaning? Just like for riding an airplane, you need practice, you need consistency. Similarly, making the time productive also needs consistency. And time determines everything. Time in the exam decides whether the question is difficult or not. No question is difficult. It's just the time. If you have more time, even the toughest question might seem easy, or you would say, I have time, I'll try my level best to crack this. Time is the decider. Time is difficult. Subjects are not difficult. So, time is an airplane. You are the pilot. You have the capability to fly the airplane. You have the capability to write your board exam nicely. Whether the time is running, you have the capability to utilize it. This is the literal meaning. This is critical thinking that I was talking about in English. And my last quote that I will be speaking in front of you. If you were to do something, or if you really wish to do something, you'll find out a way. If you really wish to do something, you'll find out a way. And if you don't, you'll find out an excuse. If you were to wish for something, you would find out a way. And if you do not, you'll find out an excuse. What does this mean? Let me explain you within 1 minute and then we'll end, okay? This quote basically means that if you have the zeal, if you want to do na, then nobody can stop you. राइट पूरी कायनात आपको उस चीज़ से मिलाने में लग जाती है, जुड़ जाती है. दैट इज़ अ हिंदी कोट, राइट? हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू रिमेंबर? अगर आपको किसी चीज़ की, आई मीन समथिंग, आई जस्ट फॉरगॉट, किसी चीज़ को बहुत पाने की वो इच्छा है, राइट? सो द वंस हु आर गिविंग एक्सक्यूजेस कि टाइम नहीं मिल रहा, कोचिंग है, स्कूल है, और फिर खेलने भी जाना होता है. सो द पीपल हु आर लाइक दिस, स्टॉप मेकिंग एक्सक्यूजेस. Because when you're wasting your time overthinking or making excuses, thousands of students are studying. Thousands of students are studying and studying and studying.